He doesn't get any pie. My father's voice cut through the noise of Thanksgiving dinner. He pointed a fork at my 9-year-old son's empty dessert plate. He didn't earn it. My sister Brittany's kids were already on their second slice. I put my hand on my son Caleb's back, felt the slight tremor under his sweater. I looked at the perfectly set table, the polished silver, the strained smiles. "We're leaving," I said, and we left. The door clicked shut behind us. A quiet little sound in a house full of noise. In the car, Caleb buckled his seatbelt and whispered, "Did I do something wrong?" "Mom," I looked at his face in the dim glow of the dashboard lights, his eyes wide and blinking back tears. "No, sweetie," I said, my voice tight. "We did something right. My name is Jessica. I'm 3'4", a single mom and the oldest daughter. I work as a medical biller, which means I spend my days translating messy human problems into clean organized codes. My life is a series of ledgers and line items. People call meth responsible one. What they really mean is I'm the one they can call when their own responsibility runs out. Caleb loves science facts and has a theory at black holes or just places the universe forgets to put things. He had been so proud of the sweet potato casserole he helped me make. Carefully rearing the marshmallows in a pattern, only he understood. Thanksgiving at my parents' house always felt like a performance. The stage was set with Mother Jennifer's antique linen and my father David's unshakable rules of order. My sister Brittany was there documenting every perfect moment for social media. My brother Justin was slouched in a chair scrolling through his phone, physically present but mentally 1,000 miles away. I'd barely put our casserole on the warmer when Dad started his speech. In this family, he announced to the room, "Wevelu contribution." He looked right at Caleb. Brittany's kids helped their mother set the table. They earned their dessert. The air went still. I saw Caleb's shoulders slump. I'd asked him to bring in the extra chairs from Thegridge, which he did without a word of complaint, but that contribution was invisible. It didn't fit the narrative. My mother just smiled thinly and said, "David, let's not make a fuss." Brittany didn't look up from her phone. "He's just teaching him a lesson." "Jessica, don't be so sensitive." A hot, familiar anger rose in my throat. I looked at the untouched casserole at the perfect table at Myson's crushed face. I touched his shoulder. "We're done." I stood up so quickly. His chair didn't even scrape the floor. He's good like that. He grabbed our coats and the casserole dish back house. I knew we'd need dinner later. Us walked out past the gallery of smiling family photos. I didn't slam the door. I wanted the silence of our exit to be the loudest thing they heard. The thing about buying family's financial shock absorber is that you get used to the impacts. You learn to brace yourself. For 10 years, I could map my life in their emergencies. When my mother's water heater broke, I put the $500 replacement on my credit card. Just until your father's pension check comes in. She'd said it never did. When Brittany decided she needed a new laptop for her influencer career, Eco signed the loan. When Justin got a ticket for driving with an expired registration, I paid the $300 fine so Hugh wouldn't lose his license. Family helps family, my dad would say, usually right before asking for another kind of help that looked a lot like my name on their cable bill. My credit card points used for their vacation flights. My emergency savings account slowly bemming my mother's dental implant fund. When I tried to say no, I was selfish. When I asked when I might be paid back, I was making things transactional. The problem wasn't my budget. It was their lack of one. A few years ago, I started keeping a secret spreadsheet. I called it the support ledger. Not for the big things, just the little ones. The "can you just grab milk?" The prescriptions I picked up. The $20 I'd slipped Justin for gas last year. The total for those small things added up to over $4,000. More than 2 months of my own rent. Beauty wasn't just the money. It was the assumed access to my time, my energy, my professional skills.
It was me, a medical biller.
Spending a whole weekend deciphering my father's confused injunction statements for free. Family history was always buying Gruiton to suit them. The time I gave them my old car, it became the car well let her use for a few years. The money I loaned Brittany became the gift I gave her to get started. After we got home from Thanksgiving, the backlash started. A text from Brittany at 8:15. You completely overreacted. Dad was just trying to instill some values. A missed call from my mother. Then the direct hit. A text from my father. Since y'all have so much extra money, you can afford to be proud. The rent for the condo is going up by $200 next month. Effective immediately, I stared at the screen. Thethreat so blatant it was almost comical. I felt the old panic. The familiar Ergetto apologized to smooth things over, then I walked into Caleb's room to tuck him in. On his knitstand was a drawing made. It was two stick figures, one tall and one small, holding hands inside a poorly drawn rocket ship. Underneath it, he'd written in shaky letters, Timum and Caleb going to the moon. And I realized my true family duty wasn't Topham. It wasn't about paying their bills or managing their feelings. It was a Boothis. My duty was to protect the little boy in this bed. My duty was to keep our rocket ship safe. The next morning, the family group chat lit up. A message from me father family meeting. My house 1 p.m. today. Be there. It wasn't a request. It was a summons. Brittany chimed in immediately. We all need to talk this out like adults. My mother added a string of prayer hands emojis. I felt that old familiar pull in my gut. The ingrained training of the oldest daughter to show up, to fix, to absorb. The part of me that was still a little girl seeking my father's approval wanted to type. Okay, I'll be there. But then it thought of Caleb's face, of his empty plate, of our little rocket ship. I took a deep breath and typed a reply. I am unavailable to meet in person. I can join a video call at 1:30. The response was immediate. My father don't difficult. Jessica Brittany, seriously, you're making this into a whole production. I held my ground. 1:30 video call. That is what I am offering. A long vibrating silence followed. I put my phone down and walked to my desk. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. For the first time, I wasn't going to let them set the terms of engagement. I was going to handle this same way I handle a disputed claim with an insurance company. Professionally, methodically, without emotion. I opened a new document and started to prepare. I wasn't planning for a family argument. I was drafting a script for a high-stakes negotiation. I knew their tactics. They would start with guilt, to accusations and finally veiled threats. So, I prepared my responses. I created what I called a boundary script. The formula was simple. Something I'd learned from anthropists years ago but had never had the courage to use. First, you validate their feeling, but not their reality. I hear that you feel hurt. Second, you state your boundary clearly and simply, I will not be blamed for protecting my child. Third, you state the consequence of them crossing that boundary. If you continue to insult me or my son, I will end this call. I wrote down the key phrases. I anticipated their arguments and drafted my counterpoints. Not with emotion, but with facts. I practiced saying the words out loud to my entire apartment. I understand you see it differently. My decision is not up for debate. That is not something I am willing to discuss. Each phrase felt like a small piece of armor. I was no longer Jessica, the emotional daughter. I was Jessica, the professional advocate for my client. And my client was a 9-year-old boy who deserved to feel safe. My client was me. I was finally advocating for me. At 1:29, I clicked the link. Their faces filled me laptop screen. A panel of judgment broadcast from my parents' dining room. My father David was at the head of the table. His jaw set like concrete. He looked as if he'd been waiting his whole life to deliver a verdict. My mother, Jennifer, was beside him. Wearing the pearl necklace she only puts on for serious occasions, the string of pearls gleamed proudly against her blouse. Like a badge of moral authority. Brittany had a notebook and pen. Poised as if she were taking official minutes, she sat upright, ready to document every word that proved her superiority. Justin was half in the frame, staring at something below the camera, probably his phone. My father didn't bother with pleasantries. Jessica, your behavior was appalling. You embarrassed this family, and you are teaching your son to be disrespectful. My mother leaned forward. her voice soft and tremoring, as if she alone carried the family's emotional burden. We are so concerned about you. You're shutting everyone out. You're destroying this family over a piece of pie. I inhaled slowly. My prepared line sat on the tip of my tongue. I hear that you are upset, I said evenly. Brittany snapped. Upset? We're furious. You're being dramatic and selfish? Everyone has problems, Jessica. I stared directly into the camera. My son's emotional well-being is not drama. That was the moment my father reached deep into his arsenal. This is about gratitude. After everything we've done for you, the condo, the support when your husband left, I let him finish. I didn't interrupt. I simply let the weight of his accusations sit between us like smoke from a blown-out match. They kept going. They emptied their ammo, guilt, shame, obligation. When the noise finally died down, I shifted my mouse. You're right, I said. My voice calm enough to be suspicious. Let's talk about everything that has been done. Let's talk about the numbers. I clicked share screen. Their faces vanished, replaced by a perfectly formatted PDF. At the top, bold, professional font, the family support ledger itemized record. 2012 present. Silence on their end was instant and heavy. I scrolled, steadily, deliberately. June 2015, payment for Brittany's car insurance deductible, $750. Unreimbursed, August 2017. Emergency payment for Justin's phone bill to avoid cancellation, $180. Unreimbursed, multiple. Screenshots of messages promising repayment, never. Fulfilled, January 2020. $5,000 transferred directly from my savings account to assist with parents' new car. Purchase, no repayment requested and none received. The facts spoke louder than any accusation ever. Could my mother's hand flew to her pearls? As if she needed something solid to grip, Brittany's pen froze. Mid-sentence, David's expression twisted. Disbelief and rage fighting for space. What is this? He sputtered. Turn that off. No, I said, my voice cutting through the tension with surgical precision. We are doing this now. You wanted to discuss what I owe. So let's discuss what has already been paid. The power had moved. It was no longer sitting in their dining room. It was sitting in my spreadsheet. Taking advantage of the stunned silence, I delivered my statement, not a negotiation, not a request. A verdict. I will not be paying increased rent. In fact, I will not be paying you rent at all anymore. I've signed a lease on a new apartment. Caleb and I move out on the 1st. My mother gasped like someone had thrown ice water on her. Brittany's jaw disconnected from her face. You can't, she stammered. Where will you even go? Somewhere I can afford, I said, steady, unshaken. Now that I'm supporting 2 people instead of 5. I continued, voice growing stronger with every word. As of today, I have removed myself as an authorized user from your credit card. The family phone plan, which is in my name, will be canceled at the end of the billing cycle. The Wi-Fi and streaming services you use, also in my name, will be terminated unless transferred. I had become my own accounts. Department. And from now on, the required currency was respect. And their balance was deeply negative. My father's voice dropped into a threat. You think you're punishing us? You're only punishing yourself and your son. I shook my head, a small sad smile touching my lips. No, for the first time I'm choosing us. Justin, who had been silent the whole call, gave a short, strange laugh, humorless and unreadable. Good luck out there on your own, he said. Laced with venom. Watch me, I answered. And I hit end call. The silence in my apartment roared, then softened into something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. I stood, walked into the kitchen, and opened the list I'd made for this moment. My untangling checklist. I started with the smallest strings. Logged into the streaming service gives cancel subscription. Opened my banking app gives stop automatic payment for Wi-Fi. Called the credit card company gives confirm removal as authorized user. Took the physical card from my wallet gives cut it into tiny Satisfying pieces. Every click felt like cutting another rope off my ankle. I was sealing up a box of Caleb's favorite books when my phone buzzed. I expected rage. Or guilt. Or threats. But it was Venmo $50 from Justin Message. For pizza. You earned it. I stared at it, not quite believing it. It wasn't an apology. It didn't fix anything, but it was the first crack in a wall that had felt immovable. And in that moment, it was enough. The first weeks in our new place were quiet and bare. Our footsteps echoed. Caleb's bed and a thrift store armchair were our only furniture. We ate mac and cheese on the floor, using moving boxes as tables, but the emptiness felt peaceful, like a blank page instead of a punishment. Caleb drew a giant smiling sun on printer paper and taped it to the wall where a couch would someday go. He didn't ask permission, he just did it because this was our home. One afternoon, there was a knock. A woman from down the hall. Ashley, flower on her sleeve, tired eyes. Warm smile. She held out a plate of still warm cookies. Move-in day fuel, she joked. I heard a kid's voice. Figured sugar might help. Caleb lit up. Ashley became the first block in the foundation of our chosen family. Kindness without strings. She gave when she could. She never asked for anything. She simply showed up. And as for the messages from my biological family, they still came, but they had no power now. They were just words on a screen.